So welcome to a very special episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today I'm here with Matt Farah of the Smoking Tire fame. So it's pretty exciting.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's weird.
yeah.
I'm in my own house. I don't feel very excited. No, I'm
It's
kidding.
for me. It's kind of a big deal.
Thanks for making the trek up, man. It's a long
Yeah.
drive. I appreciate it.
Cool, totally worth it. Huge fan, and
Thank you.
I started out doing a lot of reviews of my own pieces, and then kind of as I picked up steam, then more companies kind of started reaching out to me and collaborating. And I really wanted to kind of expand my format to doing some interviews and
Sure.
getting a little bit more FaceTime and maybe being representing the brand and not just what I'm reviewing that's in front of me. So luckily I'm in Southern California, so
Well, it's the home of all this shit, isn't it?
So there's a pretty target-rich environment when it comes to trying to find interesting people. And one of the things that I really thought was fitting for to interview you is because I think there is a little bit of a duality there with cars and watches,
totally.
as far as being man candy and
Yeah, I mean, we like machines and we like trophies and we like, a watch. You can appreciate the mechanics and the materials and the build quality, and it's also, it's like having a sports car you can bring into the bar with you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's the same thing when you have all these kind of unrealistic features that you don't need in a watch, right? You're not going to go 500 meters, but it's nice to be able to, right?
I think it's the dive watches that can go like way deeper than humans would, your skull would be crushed, but your James Cameron Sea Dweller will make it just fine. Yeah,
definitely. And of course, you won't be able to drive 200 miles an hour anywhere here. But
I drove 200 miles an hour 2 days ago. 211 miles an hour in a Here, I'll show you. In a Volkswagen Jetta. Here it is. There's a Bonneville LSR Jetta land speed record car, 2 parachutes, 600 horsepower. It's a nasty little motherfucker, isn't it? And look, I did 211 miles an hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats with it. Here's right after I pulled the chute, so you get slowed down. I have the audio turned off for Instagram, but yeah, that's in a Jetta.
That's killer.
Rad. Yeah, so you can go 200 miles an hour.
A little bit of the exception to the rule.
But your point stands. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
having a watch that is beyond, human capability, and a car that is in most cases, I think, I feel like, Scott Dixon, IndyCar driver, could probably drive a regular Corvette faster than I could drive, the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. So it's all on the user, right?
That thing is killer, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, that was ridiculous. I just went to Portugal to drive that. But at the same time, I like complications and stuff, and there are complications that I really like and that I do use. So
for sure, and I think it's really just kind of taking it to that next level, just to almost where it's part of kind of the bragging rights, right?
Yeah, engineering for engineering's sake. You have like the double tourbillon, or some crazy like Roger Dubuis with like the 4 escapements. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It's like, hey, we made this work somehow, so there you go.
Yeah. So really to overcomplicate things. And then the same thing there's, with dive watches that can go super deep, they try to make also on the other side of the spectrum is super thin watches, which is
I like that Altiplano thing. That thing is rad.
Oh,
the one that's like 1.9 millimeter or whatever it is. It's like you can't even feel it.
Yeah, it'd be like wearing a razor blade on your wrist.
Yeah, some people are really like that. I actually don't like when a watch is too light. I like to feel it on my wrist, and so it turns me off. There's a lot of great watches out there that are made of titanium that I won't wear because they just feel too light. I like a heavier watch.
I know exactly what you mean. There's kind of this idea that the heft, especially from mechanical watches, is tied to the quality. Similar, like
sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they'll put weights and stuff. Like they'll literally will fill a case with lead weights to make it seem heavier. Like I've definitely put on some like fairly crappy watches before. It's like, this is heavy, but it's not heavy. It's like the case will be heavy and then it'll have some hollow link band. Yeah. And it's like off center. Whereas if you put on, like a solid gold AP Royal Oak, the weight is distributed around the whole bracelet. And it's a different. You can tell that they haven't faked this.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's another parallel there with the automotive industry with tuning sound back into the cabin.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
instead of having a bigger motor, now there's a lot of turbo use. And
yeah, well, that part of the reason they do that, the pumping the sound into the cabin thing, is because the finest cars out there, you know, I mean, obviously we can talk about Rolls Royces and shit, but like, you know, the BMW M3 is a good example.
Yeah.
It's a very well insulated car.
Definitely.
And it's not that it doesn't have a volume on the outside. It's not like you can hear it on the outside. It's got a good sound to it, but you've got the good sound and you've also got a very well insulated car, and so you can really only make it so loud on the outside before it's dumb. But people still want, you know, an aggressive sounding car, and this is what they do.
Exactly. You know? Cool. So I figured I would, you know, kind of touch on your experience and kind of your travel and journey through watch collecting, kind of where you started, where you picked up a little bit more of a passion, and then cover some of the pieces you have today. And then I was going to pull a couple out also on my side for us to kind of talk about.
All right. Well, we can. I brought my watch case, so we've got some stuff. I'm missing one. I'm missing my first watch right now, which I lent to a friend, which was a Bal Mercier Capeland chronograph. It was old, and I didn't like the watch very much, frankly. Wait, hang on, I'll get you a picture of it just so we have it. It is the older. Oh boy, where is it?
Did that have like a really kind of intricate, chunky bracelet?
No, it had a. Here it is. It's a fairly sucky watch. This is it. And I got it as a college graduation gift. Like not to say that my parents weren't very nice for getting me a nice Switch watch. They were, but I say that it's a sucky watch because I wore it for 5 years and it kept awful time. It's some ETA based movement.
Yeah,
and it just didn't keep good time. So when I moved to California, my dad, as a going away present, my dad's kind of a heavy hitter, and he didn't like super spoil me, but he wore a Rolex Submariner for like 30 years. He still wears a Rolex Submariner.
Oh yeah.
And he gave me this, which you can put under the camera if you like.
Cool.
And this is a Kermit sub. And maybe I can get the light a little. It's hard because we have the lights on in here right now, so there's a little bit of glare. Yeah, Kermit sub. So at the time, I was not always into watches. Like, watches are kind of a new thing for me in the last, like, year and a half, really. Which, when you see the box, you're like, really? A year and a half? Jesus. But the Bal Mercier wasn't great. So my dad, as a going-away present, when I moved from New York to L.A., got me this Submariner. And I didn't know anything about the Kermit, and I didn't really know anything about the Submariner besides the fact that it was a nice, well-made, durable watch.
For sure.
And I wore this watch every single day. It's like pretty much 24 hours a day for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
From like 2008 until earlier this year, really.
And I think that's one of the really nice things about the this particular reference is that with the aluminum bezel, you definitely pick up a little bit of that wear, a little bit of that patina.
Oh, yeah, it's got a couple little nicks in it.
It tells a little bit of a story versus something that's going to kind of look new forever.
Yeah, it actually, wait, I can make this a little darker, I think. There we go. That's better. Sorry. A little too dark. There we go. So this thing, it's got a couple nicks in it over by like between 2 and 3 o'clock. It has a really good fade happening though. If you see it next to an original one, it's got a great fade. So this watch is kind of in retirement. I probably wear it like once a month now. But it's a really lovely watch. I just did its first ever service like a year ago.
Oh wow, how did that go?
Fine. I go to a great independent shop over here. $500. It was losing a little bit of time, and some oils had dried out, and they serviced it up, and now it's working just fine.
Nice.
It's a lovely piece. And so this was like my I wore it for 10 years. It says "Love Mom and Dad" on the back. This is a gift from my dad. Kind of forever watch, but it's lovely. And
I do remember actually seeing that on your wrist in a couple of videos.
Oh yeah, I mean I wore this thing. I had a steel band on it, this which I took off. I really like this leather. Actually, it works with some certain outfits
for sure.
And I got a little tired of the steel, changed up. I still have it, obviously. And I bought a vintage Pepsi GMT, which was a 16750, and it was a really nice one, and it had a really good fade.
Nice.
No, not that. Here it is. And it had a really good fade, and it actually had a spider dial.
Oh, cool.
And it was awesome. You know, it was a really, really, really good piece. And now they're really coming up. So I bought that, and the first day I had it, I scratched it. The very first day. And I realized, like, I shouldn't have vintage watches. Because do you notice I'm a lefty? I wear my watch in my right hand.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, you too? So, you know, the world is not set up for left-handed watch wearers.
I agree.
Banisters, walls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way we walk down the sidewalk and the way we walk downstairs.
Oh, yeah, you go around a corner.
Yeah. I smash my watches into stuff because they're on this hand.
Yeah.
And so I scratched that watch the first day. And even though it was like my brand new watch, it became a side piece instantly.
Oh, wow. Ouch.
And so even though I had just bought it, I was like, all right, it's nice. I'll keep it. I'll put it aside. And I went out and I got this. Now, I realized that just going out and spending money on Rolexes is ridiculous. But I did, because I wanted a watch that I could really wear in all circumstances every single day. And I went out and I got the GMT Master 2 Batman with the ceramic bezel. And that's my everyday watch. I wear that watch more than I wear probably all my other watches put together.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those ones where it's just super versatile. Obviously,
100%.
Yeah, and it's a tool watch. It's overbuilt. It's you know, it feels super secure and.
Well, it really straddles the line between a tool watch and a luxury watch.
Oh,
it
for
feels
sure.
great on the wrist. You know, it's got the right weight. It's got the right size. You know, it's water resistant in all the ways that I care about. I'm not diving with it, but the shower and the ocean and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a watch that looks great with any outfit. I mean, if I'm wearing mesh shorts and a t-shirt, I'm going on a bike ride, or if I'm wearing a suit and going to my sister's wedding, you know, this watch works. It works with any outfit, anytime, anywhere. I use the GMT function.
Oh, nice. When
often.
you travel.
Yeah, I mean, I was in 5 or 6 different time zones in the last week, and that's my travel watch. I treat this watch like garbage. And I'm gonna, like, it's so scratched. You really, like, the center links are like really not even that polished anymore. And I'll never sell this. It's such a good watch. I don't want to, like, I want to have like the most beat Batman ever. And I don't intentionally smack it into stuff, but I inadvertently smack it into stuff all the time. And I have no problem with it just being completely beat and fucked. And I think that's going to be great.
It still looks great. And I think one of the things that's pretty smart of Rolex is they actually kind of build in some bling to it, some shine that even when it gets dull, gets dirty, gets fingerprints on it, it's still, you know, from across the room, you'll see this, you know.
Yeah, and I can just, I take it off in a bathroom sink and rub it with soap this and just walk. And all right, now you're good. Like, you know what I mean? It's virtually no maintenance. It's virtually no hassle. It's a great, if you only had one, if I couldn't have any of this other shit and I just had that, you know, it's like the Kermit. Before I knew anything about watches, I had one watch, and the one watch was nice, and it did anything. And I was like, what would I ever possibly need another watch for? This looks great, doing anything I could possibly want to do. And that's how I feel about that watch, too. I mean, I'm a collector, so I like collecting things.
Oh, agreed.
And, you know, collecting watches is a lot easier than collecting cars.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But, yeah, no, that the Batman or even a black sub or a black GMT, whatever, people are all, there's better watches than a Rolex for the money. It's like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it starts diminishing, right? The more you're going to invest. I think
there's watches that are more precise. There's watches that have more complications. There's watches that are made of gold. You know, you can get a $10,000 watch that's made of gold from somebody, or $10,000 gets you a steel Rolex.
Exactly.
You know, but look, I paid, I think, maybe $700 over sticker to buy it new, used.
Nice.
No, used. I bought it used, but it was new. Like someone bought it and flipped it or whatever, traded it.
Yeah.
And have no regrets at all
no, this
about
is.
that.
I mean, I think really the GMT Master is really just kind of an underrated piece. I think people kind of default to the sub because of the symmetry and kind of the lure that's around it, and it's kind of the default I made it watch. But
same thing with this.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like just for a little bit more, you're getting something that the movement itself is actually adding some technical value versus
True.
And you're still getting all the same value of the fact that it's a steel Rolex, and no matter where you go, it's gonna be worth something. You hit a hard time.
Well, that's sort of I travel with it. My uncle was a green beret. He's like 75 now.
Yeah.
But he goes, when you're traveling, you always want to wear a Rolex when you travel. 'Cause
Exactly.
you never know what kind of trouble it might get you out of.
Exactly.
And I think that's a funny quip. And if I'm going somewhere like really dangerous, I won't wear it. But typically, no, I go all over the world with that watch. It comes with me in the places that I need to be.
For sure, and it's a killer piece.
It's a great piece, and I probably wear it every other day, and the whole rest of the time I alternate between the rest of them depending on what outfit is, but I pretty much wear this every other day.
I know exactly what you mean as far as you kind of have your core,
and
then you almost have the watches that you have to try to wear.
I have a couple of those. I do have a couple of those. This one is one. My dad gave me this. This is a Ralph Lauren World Time, which was actually manufactured by JLC.
Oh, nice.
It's a very interesting watch because, feel it, it's made of white gold. It's heavy as hell.
Yeah,
it's a 45 millimeter white gold case.
Oh wow.
It has a JLC. It has a JLC movement, but it doesn't say JLC anywhere on it. My dad was the CEO of Ralph Lauren, and so this watch was a gift from Ralph to him.
Oh wow.
He never wore it, and then he gave it to me. I like it because it is a legit dual time, world time. It has a full second clock in it with a day-night indicator at the 9 o'clock marker, power reserve. It's got a date, and then it has the actual full, global time zone kind of thing. If it said JLC Ralph Lauren on it, like a Patek Tiffany or something, it would be worth a fortune.
Yeah.
But because Ralph has an ego that is unmatched throughout the world, he didn't want to share dial space.
Yeah.
It's not worth that much money because nobody wants to spend 20 grand on a Ralph Lauren watch. Yeah. People mentally put a Ralph Lauren watch in the same mental basket as like a Michael Kors watch.
Yeah, they just think fashion.
When the truth is, Ralph himself is obsessed with watches and horology, and you can get a double tourbillon Ralph Lauren watch right now.
Wow.
It's like $90,000. And so this watch was a total sales flop. It was way too expensive. Nobody wanted it. And the total production of the watches was 50 in steel and 5 in white gold. So this is one of 5 of these ever made.
So basically, now everyone's gonna want one because now they know about it.
I mean, if
they know that it's a steal,
if you can find one, I mean, if you can find the steals, I mean, not often, but every once in a while, one of the steals will pop up. I've never seen another one of the white golds though on the internet or in person. It's heavy as hell.
Yeah,
it's a really heavy watch.
Super nice heft to it, and the display back. Definitely, you can tell this isn't some off the shelf movement, which you normally see in kind of a more fashion oriented watch. So that's really cool and different to see.
Let me see if I can find it. JLC
and the luster I think that the white gold has is definitely something that is different than you'll see in steel.
Yeah, and where's the JLC version of it? Is it this? Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yep, here it is. So here's the JLC version of the watch, and it actually the dials are slightly different, but you can see the similarities.
Underneath, that's the same.
Underneath the covering, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Neat, right? Same date wheel, same font. The sub dials are the same font. Actually, the Ralph Lauren has the day night, which the JLC does not have.
Oh wow, so extra complication.
Yeah. But I don't wear this very often, but if I put on a suit or if I'm doing something a little fancy, this one's not water resistant like at all. So and it's too rare for me to actually travel with, and when I travel, like I get dirty. I just don't. I don't want to. I want the complication, but I don't want to think about it. So like the sub gift from my father, it's a forever piece. And it is lovely, and if you know what it is, it's incredibly special.
And I think that's the cool thing is it has a story to it.
Yeah.
And I think
it's probably the most interesting watch I have from a story perspective.
Oh yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. So when I first started collecting watches, I bought like this one. This was my first mechanical wound. This is literally like a Russian tourist watch.
Oh wow.
And it's a Komandirsky. But it's actually like, I'll take the band off. It's actually not that bad. Like, look at check this out. Like,
yeah, I think these are actually coming more into style again online, just because.
Well, it's like $100.
Yeah,
it's a mechanical watch with a display back, and it ticks like a time bomb. And flip it over. Check out the dial. It's got this kind of Russian spy thing happening with a small seconds and. Again, it's $100. It's like basically a throwaway novelty watch. You wear it twice a year.
Yeah.
And I bought it thinking I would wear it a lot more, and then I just instantly started buying like nice watches, and I think I've worn it twice.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and honestly, for the same amount of money, you could get something that's going to be just like a generic fashion watch or a Timex that's looking like a field watch.
Totally.
And
like
it's
one of
going
those
to be quartz.
movement watches or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with those, but if you don't want a quartz, this is a proper hand wound mechanical.
And there's tons of watches that will imitate this look versus this watch, which it is, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's being what it is, and it's not trying to put on a mask of something else. So I think that's really cool, and definitely nice to see it on the nylon strap there. It's funny, like these types of things now that used to be kind of really keen to kind of watch insiders are now becoming very fashionable. You can go down to.
Everyone's rocking NATOs now.
Exactly, right?
Everyone's got a NATO strap now. This came on like an utter garbage leather. I mean, it was not leather. It was like
cardboard,
just garbage band. And I was like, let me just get. I got a little like a sort of army style green, NATO with it. But it's a fun watch to wear once in a while. It works with certain outfits. But it doesn't come out of the box very often. I don't know what else you want to talk about. Let's see what else I got. So I love Seikos.
Oh, me too.
This is a Seiko Gold Turtle.
Nice.
Which I wear. I wear this watch all the time. It's the gold one. It's on a Bosphorus leather strap.
Oh, nice.
You know Bosphorus straps?
Yeah.
In Turkey?
Yeah, I think they do watch cases too, right?
They do. They make a case sort of like your roll here. They made this box. They made this case.
Killer.
And I think it's just like two dudes in Turkey, in Istanbul, and it takes like 1,000,000 years to get the straps. But they do this canvas thing that I really love.
Oh yeah, that thing looks like it's super just.
That one's pretty well broken in and soft. Yeah, the one on my IWC is a new one that's a little stiffer. But I love the Gold Turtle. A friend of mine got some dude in like the Philippines or something that actually recases turtles in brass. He hand makes brass cases, and my friend spent like $1,500 on a brass case
and then
turtle.
they released this.
And then they released this, and I was like, Carl, like, where do I get the brass case turtle? He's like, bro, don't even bother. Just buy the gold one from Seiko. Like, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Dude, this watch, I think it was $400 on Amazon, is such a rad watch. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's great.
It's very functional, day date. It's durable. It's relatively affordable with the gold. It's got the gold buckle as well, which matches really nice. And I think the gold with the canvas really is a good look.
Oh, definitely. And gold's coming back into style. It used to kind of be like an older thing, but now it's just like everybody kind of wants a two-tone. Everybody wants the gold. Even if it's plate, like people aren't as concerned.
I got the gold G-Shock.
Oh, yeah. I saw
and,
that one.
So I think this is a great look. I like that my most expensive watches are the most DL, and my cheapest watches are the flashiest. So I've got a gold Seiko, and I have the gold G-Shock, the gold anniversary one, which this thing is awesome. I love wearing the gold. Slide those over to the left a little bit. I love wearing the gold G-Shock. It's so much fun.
Oh, I bet.
And it's heavy, and I think I paid like $50 over, $60 over for it. Not much. They're more now. I got very lucky that I found one. That's just a really fun watch to wear. Like with cars, I like my Focus RS is parked outside. It's like bright, crazy blue. I like my hatchbacks in like nuclear colors and my supercars in gray. And it's the same thing. My IWC I think is my most expensive watch, but like if I'm on the subway drunk at 4 a.m, the guy next to me with the Submariner is getting robbed. Nobody sees it. It's my 3 most expensive watches are invisible. And the gold, is my cheaper watches, and they just blah, and I really like that. That's a lot of fun.
These are killer. And then I mean the Casio, it definitely now ties back to kind of what's in style again, which is the 90s, and it's a super cool callback. And
that's my Radwood watch. Radwood. Radwood's a car show for 80s and 90s cars. So that's my Radwood watch. I have 2 G-Shocks. This one was a gift from my friend Carl. This one's from Japan.
Yeah.
And this is the carbon fiber one.
Oh, yeah, the carbon fiber
titanium.
Strap. Yeah.
And it's a titanium case and carbon fiber. So hold up the gold and then hold that up. So the carbon is like 40. Hang on, let me zoom out a little bit. The carbon is like 40 grams. It's so light.
Yeah.
And then the gold is like 167 grams. So there's like so much weight difference in between the 2 watches. The carbon I wear when I'm at the gym. That's my gym watch. And they're both great.
G-Shocks are
they're
awesome. Yeah, it's funny because like you can be a hardcore like watch enthusiast, or you can be just like somebody off the street. You kind of know that G-Shocks are cool, solid watches to get. Yeah,
and I think the carbon one was maybe $250, and the other one was like $700. So they're not nothing, but they're by watch standards, they're not expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And, with the carbon especially, you can be super DL and also be a watch snob at the same time.
Yeah, and you can see this from across the room and be like, whoa, check out
the gold one.
strap.
The only watch that I ever am stopped by strangers on the street is the gold G-Shock. No one has ever... no one has ever been like, dude, that thing is sweet. But when I wear the gold G-Shock, I get stopped by strangers and asked about it.
I mean, it's definitely an iconic look, and it's pretty big. It has some wrist presence to it, and I think
it's got a great weight. It feels when you wear it, it feels like you're wearing a luxury item.
It does.
Sure.
It does feel pretty nice.
Yeah,
so.
and it's GPS based, and so it finds its own time, and it's solar powered, so you don't have to do anything. And
yeah, I mean, when I was in the Marine Corps, probably the most expensive watches I used to wear were G-Shock watches.
They got to be popular in the military, right?
Oh yeah, super popular. And then I went to Okinawa for a little while, so I got these JDM ones, which were a lot of fun. And it's funny, it's because G-Shocks are kind of known for being more plasticky, but you find that when you can find those little special ones that are made out of more metal, those ones are like super collectible, and they're a lot of fun. And it's just, I would say the thing that you get out of a G-Shock, really the luxury is in the capability of the watch, right? Because at this point, time's all around you. You're surrounded by it. It's in your pocket. It's in your car. It's on your oven, right? It's just everywhere. So to a certain extent, any type of wristwatch is going to feel, it's essentially a luxury to you.
A lot of folks go, people that aren't into it, have why do I need that? I have the time on my phone, and okay, but a watch isn't really about telling the time. I mean, it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You can get the time, like you said, it's all around you. You can get it from any number of places at any given time. To wear a watch it's a style statement. You know what I mean?
It is, and I think for guys especially, the way we kind of express ourselves, it's not the same.
We don't. If you're not a rapper, you're not wearing necklaces, you're not wearing diamonds.
As far as accessories go, it's pretty much your watch, your wallet, pocket knife, maybe
belt,
the type
a nice
belt.
pair of shoes. Especially like here where I live in Venice Beach. Venice Beach is the most casual place on earth. When I lost some weight and I rewarded myself with a custom made suit.
Oh, cool.
That I have worn 0 times, and I have no occasion to wear a custom suit anywhere, but I'll wear a t-shirt and jeans and a $30,000 watch, and that works.
It does.
Yeah.
And
no one will notice, but I'll feel good about it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there was times there were probably maybe even months and months where I didn't even wear pants. It was just shorts. I was just fine wearing shorts.
Yeah.
And
that's me all summer. Shorts, t-shirt, Rolex, and I'm going out, and that's it. And I don't need to be dressed up. I feel pimping because of that.
Oh, definitely.
And I think there's a lot of people I'm not like an egomaniac, for someone that's on camera. I'm a fairly modest and non-flashy dude. I don't wear a lot of blingy shit.
Yeah.
But I feel good when I wear a nice watch. It's the only thing I really care about. I'll wear this fucking t-shirt sucks, like, but I wear a nice watch and I feel like, all right, I'm ready to go out now.
Yeah, definitely. There's just something that's kind of instant street cred, you know.
Yeah.
So
And with the kind of people that I think I want to notice. Most people don't notice. Most people
oh
don't
yeah,
care.
of course. It's one of those funny things where on the forums and on the Facebook groups every day, people just talk about like how it's pretty much their cheapest watch. That's always the one that gets noticed, and the watch that they bought as like kind of a statement piece that like nobody ever says anything about because it's kind of just this expectable piece that what they would expect them to have because they're where they're at in their career and everything, and they're like, oh, this is the watch that you should wear.
Yeah, I don't honestly. I think some people think that it's egotistical or whatever, self-absorbed or wasteful to have a nice watch, but I think it's okay to have a trophy. I think it's okay to say I've done well. I'm gonna have this thing that makes me feel good. Yeah,
yeah.
And look, I wear this fucking Seiko all the time because I like it, because it fits on my wrist well. I think I like the dial. I like the way that the light hits the lume at night, and that's fine. And I can feel good wearing that, or I can put on the Batman or something else and feel good, wearing that. I think it's fine to have a trophy.
What's funny is I think in a lot of people's kind of collecting in their journey, it's funny, like they might start out with Seiko and then they find their way back to Seiko because they actually learn to kind of appreciate all those nuances and all the originality, all of this stuff that's done in-house that Seiko does. It's so different than so many other kind of mid-tier brands.
A very interesting
company.
Oh, yeah.
I
have a Grand Seiko that is
I saw that.
Yeah, grab that. I actually bought the Grand Seiko before I bought any regular Seikos. Oh, that's not true. I attempted to buy a yellow dial Pogue.
Oh,
and when
okay.
I bought it on the internet, the astronaut watch, and when I bought it on the internet, it turned out to have a completely bunk movement in it.
Oh, no.
And I got hosed on it, and I was like, no more vintage anything off the internet. And so my friend Carl was like talking about how much he loves Seiko, and so I went to the Miami Seiko boutique, and Joe at the Miami Seiko boutique showed me this. I was looking around and I was wearing this Batman, which I had only gotten a month or two before. And he pulled out a microscope and he goes, you want a Pepsi challenge? And I was like, all right, sure. And he put this. He goes, pick one you like and we'll put it under against. And the finish on this watch.
Oh man, the hands.
The hands are like X-Acto blades. The hour markers have no lume, but they're so finely polished that you can actually see them even in almost pitch dark. The bezel is made of sapphire, and it's a spring drive movement, which I think spring drive is really, really interesting.
Oh, yeah, super interesting.
It has a display back, and the movement is incredibly well finished. The edges of the links are hand polished on the sides.
Super clean bevel
I don't know
there.
if you can see the movement there.
Yeah.
Here, I'm reaching across the table. You can probably do better. But I think that the finishing on the movement is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, the spring drive is definitely a real. It's on so many levels you can geek out on it just because of everything that it offers. It kind of takes the best of both worlds. It's like a hybrid, right?
Yeah.
Because it's regulated by a quartz, but it's mechanical and it doesn't require
For me, it's
battery.
Mechanical enough.
Oh,
it's not, you know what I mean? I know I can tell the difference between a quartz watch and a mechanical watch. This is a mechanical watch. I have to fucking wind it. It has a power reserve gauge.
Exactly.
Look at the back.
Yeah.
That's a mechanical watch.
Yeah, there's no battery in there or anything. So it's one of those things where I don't know if anybody's ever really taken it to like, oh, it has quartz in it. That's not good because, I mean, really, it capitalizes on all the technology that's available and puts it all together.
Yeah.
And same thing with supercars today, right? They're capitalizing on anything that's out there, and maybe it's not for the purists, but it's definitely something that anybody can appreciate who kind of cares about this kind of stuff.
And I think anyone who goes into a Grand Seiko store and really, really looks at them up close, if they pull out the microscope for you or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the finishing is just just so top notch.
It's so awesome.
And everything's in house. So like all the things that, you know, on the super high end, like hot horology side that are important to people, Seiko has that in spades. You know, they're making their own little lubrications and like everything down to, you know.
And look, if you run the chronograph, look how smooth the sweep is on this chronograph. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. Like, this is it's even by Swiss watch standards, it is the most beautifully smooth sweep, because it doesn't oscillate. It just goes, the regulating wheel just goes one way.
Yeah.
So I just think this watch is just super amazing, and I wear this one a lot. This is top 3, I think, of watches I wear the most. It's really durable. I smack it into stuff all the time, not intentionally, but and it's water resistant, and there's nothing you can't do with it. It's a great watch, and it's got a great weight to it, and I'm like a total fanatic for Grand Seiko. Like, I'd buy 10 more of them. I think we mentioned titanium earlier.
Yeah.
I want a snowflake
right?
so bad, but it's too light. I want a steel snowflake. I want to feel I want that dial, but I want to feel the weight. I understand it's light as a snowflake, but I just don't like the feel of titanium. Is just too light.
There's actually a Seiko Presage model that's a steel snowflake, and they're using it's mechanical. It's a higher beat, so it's the 8 ticks versus like the 6 ticks you'll find in the your normal 6R movement, and they're super limited, but they're around $2,000.
I've seen them.
And those actually, I have the titanium version of the Presage that uses the 6R movement, and it is lighter. But you know, there's something about it that's just kind of special. And I'm not really huge into titanium watches, maybe in divers, just because they're already a little bit bulkier, so I can feel the heft. But I know exactly what you mean. But for that watch, there's something about it that, especially the dial, it kind of has that frosty dial, similar to the real Grand Seiko. So people kind of call it the baby snowflake.
Of Watch and Listen podcast, which, by the way, that's a podcast I do. It's called Watch and Listen podcast. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out on iTunes. Whatever. We did an episode about affordable watches, and there's that Presage, and there's 2 very similar versions of the same one.
Oh yeah.
And one is $300, and one is $2,500. and if you put them side by side, you almost can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks more to how good the cheaper one is. Compared to, and there's a better movement as well.
Yeah. You're basically paying for the movement.
And some better dial finishing and stuff, right?
Yeah. They're gonna use a little bit better finishing. Not quite the same level as Grand Seiko, but definitely they're gonna, from their parts bin, they're picking the better stuff and the higher end.
And
definitely.
But I love Grand Seiko so much. I talk about it to everyone I know. You know, and what's interesting about it is it's like, oh my God, you know, $8,000 for a Seiko.
Exactly.
You just gotta be like, dude, it's not that. It's different. It's different people. It's a different factory. It's different designers. It's different.
It's like
parts.
saying a GTR is a Nissan.
Is an Altima. Yeah. It's just not. You know. And so I really love that watch, and anyone who will listen, I talk about how awesome Grand Seiko.
Oh yeah.
But I wear it out, and I'm invisible. No one looks at it. No one notices it. I mean, you really have to look at it a little closer to understand what it is that you're looking at. But when I explain to people what it is, and they start taking a better look, it's very, very special piece. And this particular one is SBGB003, limited to 500 pieces, Japanese market only. And 5 of them accidentally made it to the Miami store.
Oh, wow.
In a shipping error, and I happened to grab one while it was in the case. But I met the CEO of Grand Seiko. He was like, "Where'd you get that? Did you go to Japan?" And I was like, "No, I got it in Miami." He's like, yes. A couple of them made it to Miami.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's a very lovely watch.
Oh,
and they make a
I love the
non-chrono
finishing.
version that's a GMT diver with that sapphire bezel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's rad, too.
Yeah, this thing is just killer.
Great watch.
And you know what's funny is Seiko and / Grand Seiko, they actually kind of knew that people were kind of struggling with it as Seiko on the dial, and now they rebranded, and now it's just GS Grand Seiko. They don't have the Seiko.
This is from the
Grand
last
Seiko.
year before they did that.
Yeah, which I think is really cool from a collecting standpoint, is because you kind of have it in its more pure form, which is the way that they intended it versus the way that they had to change it to kind of fit the market.
Yeah,
So-
either way is fine. If it had it the new way, that would have been fine. It's not the defining characteristic of the watch, but I do think it's funny because people look at it and just they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's funny because some people's perspective of a department store Seiko, some people who don't care about watches at all think department store Seiko, super expensive watch.
Right.
And then there's some people who are like department store Seiko, super cheap watch.
Right.
So it's just funny how you kind of make this transition and you go on this journey and you just have these different outlooks and you go back and you appreciate the Turtles, the SKXs of the world and kind of the enjoyment that these watches bring you while you're out trying to, you know, go spec for spec. I feel like it's you know, everybody's looking for bang per buck, right? Same thing with cars, watches. You want to get kind of the highest spec for the money, and nobody's really interested in paying, you know, somebody's marketing tab, right?
Right. You know, I completely agree, and that's people shit on Rolex a lot for that.
Yeah.
You know, and to a certain extent, I'd agree. I agree with them because, in a lot of ways, this Seiko Turtle is a better watch than a Rolex Batman. It has a day date. And what does Rolex charge you for a day date?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean? So, like, yeah, but on the other hand, I've just been around the world. I've just been, like, to 3 different countries and a bunch of different states, and everywhere I go shopping for watches. Not because I want to buy anything, but just because it's a thing to do, and especially in airports and whatever. And people talk shit about Rolex limiting their stock and you can't get a steal and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I have one. And I realize going to all these stores, so many of these watches are way more common than you think they are. Yeah, and an IWC Pilot or a Cartier Santos or a fucking Breitling Chronomat or whatever.
Yeah.
You can buy one of those right now in any city in the world.
Yeah.
But in all these places I went, not a one. I was wearing the only one of those I saw.
Nice.
And that's not a point of pride because I could afford it and other people can't. Sure, people can afford it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, okay, they've limited it, it increases my satisfaction with the product once I have it. Now, is that based on bullshit? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, good marketing's good marketing.
But you know
right?
what? So is fucking engine notes through the speakers.
Yeah.
But my Focus RS has engine notes through the speakers. And I was super offended when I found out. And the first thing I did was I unplugged the fuse. And I drove the car and I went, oh, shit. And it sounded worse. And I plugged it back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bullshit is only bullshit if you spend your time recognizing that it's bullshit. If you enjoy the experience and don't think so much about why you're enjoying it, just that you're enjoying it, fucking who cares? Who cares if my shit plays little notes to the speakers?
Yeah.
Who cares if... You know, if you can't, you got to wait 2 years for a fucking authorized dealer. So what? Go to a gray market, spend the flip tax, and just get it now.
Yeah.
Just get it now. You know what I mean? The market, there's no, you don't have a right to buy something at sticker right now. You know what I mean? The market will adjust itself. If Rolex doesn't want to make enough steals and they want to make you buy some ugly ass date justs.
Yeah.
I was at the Rolex store in Windsor, UK. And I said, you know, they didn't have any steals, and they had a bunch of date justs and day dates and Cellinis and fucking whatever sitting around, you know. And I go, yeah, I'm talking to the guy, and it's one of the few instances where the Rolex store people were nice to me. and I'm going, you know, my friend says he's a big collector, and he goes, if I wanted to get like a Hulk from you right now or a Pepsi Jubilee or something, you know, that I should buy the 2 ugliest date justs in the case. And he goes, your friend's science is sound, but his scale is off. And I go, how far off?
Oh,
and he
God.
goes, 2 presidents, one with diamonds. So he was saying to me that if I spent $80,000 on stock, he would make this $10,000 watch appear for me.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
That's pretty nuts.
And that sounds stupid, doesn't it? Who's going to do that?
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of, I think it's just a little bit more transparent. But I mean, every other business model is the same way. You buy in volume and you get better cuts, right? So I think, of course, it's different when better volume means, you know, 2 watches and then you get a better deal on the one.
Right.
But yeah,
well,
that's
what
crazy.
he said was, as far as his allocations go, he has to sell 7, let's call it undesirables, to get allocated 1 steel sport watch. And when he does, he doesn't get to choose what it is. It just shows up.
Oh, wow.
Might be a no-date sub, might be a Batman, he doesn't know. It just shows up.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, every gray market dealer in the world has a dozen Batmans.
That's true.
They're 13 grand, not $99.95.
Yeah.
But get one right now. Just get it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I understand. You're paying over, but you could sell it for over.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the net. It's not the you're not going to buy this for 3 over today, and in a year it's going to be 5 under. Like that's just not going to happen. So
yeah. And one of the reasons it won't is because Rolex,
of that.
Yeah, because they actually do kind of regulate the demand, and it's smart.
Whatever they're doing, I assume they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely working for them.
From the consumer's perspective, I think it's strange that their own biggest competition is their own secondhand market.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
exactly,
I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's funny.
And it's funny because the more they regulate their new stuff, the more it drives up the
secondhand. Yeah.
People are paying big bucks now.
Bro, a Submariner from the 90s is a $9,000 watch now. When did that happen?
Nuts.
You know?
Yeah,
but,
with that flimsy clasp and everything.
Right? I know. So anyway, moving on. What else? Oh, so this is one of my favorites. This is a Weiss watch. You know Cameron?
Yeah. I don't know him personally, but I know about the company, and they're out in LA, right?
Yeah, he's in Torrance. We're actually having I'll throw it up. We're having I'll get it on my Instagram. Watch stories.
Nice.
Cars and watches on October 4th, 7 to 10 p.m. at Weiss Watches in Torrance. At their factory. Bring your car, bring your watch, and we're going to be recording the Watch and Listen podcast and having fans and listeners bring in their watches and tell us their watch stories. And so this is a Weiss American issue field watch, caliber 1003, designed and manufactured from scratch in LA. Cameron designed the movement himself, hand assembled, hand finished the movement himself. You may notice at the bottom of the case there that mine is a serial number 1.
Oh, killer!
Mine is a paint to sample dial, Bugatti French Racing Blue. When I first met Cameron, and I was like, "What? I need to give you money. Whatever it is you're doing, I need to buy into." And he offered to give me a discount on a watch, which was very nice of him. And I said, "I don't want a discount. I want to give you full price, but maybe you could do something a little special for me." And so he made this beautiful paint to sample French Racing Blue dial.
Yeah, I love the color play on that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I wear it often.
Is that like a Cordura strap too?
It is a Cordura strap.
Nice,
it's a really nice strap. It's got the sort of backing on it that allows it to be waterproof, and it's a canvas sort of thing. Also,
yeah.
They make their own buckles. The buckles say Weiss on them. But these are like $2,500, and for me, like, here's a 30-year-old guy making watches from scratch in California. I don't want to not give Grant credit. Grant runs the machines that make the parts. So Grant as well, and Cameron's lovely wife Whitney. I wanted to have one of these while he was still making them himself, because eventually he's gonna max out and he'll have to hire people, and I'm sure the quality will be fine. But I want the one that was made by his hand. And so I had to have it, and he was kind enough to make me this paint to sample dial. It's super, super beautiful. And he's actually making me a set of Dash rally clocks for my 911.
Nice.
Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
He's going to make one as a clock, which is going to use this movement, a hand-wound clock, and the other is going to be a stopwatch, which I think he's disassembling an old Hoyer stopwatch and using that movement.
Sweet.
And making a new case and a new dial for that, which will be fucking rad. I think it'd be cool. But I love my Weiss watch, and I tell everybody about Weiss, and I think it's important to support stuff like this that's made in America.
For sure, and I agree with you. Actually, one of the watches that I brought is an up-and-coming American-made brand. The machine, the entire bracelet, and the case. So they're out of Detroit, which is so the guy basically
not Shinola.
No, it's not Shinola. He actually owns a like a microphone company, so he has all the machines, so all the overheads are already taken care of. And this basically was his passion project, and I wanted to show it to you because I know that you're definitely behind Weiss.
Yeah. Let's get rid of this.
Cool.
I'll show you one more. My heaviest hitter watch, which I saved for the end. I had that GMT Pepsi that I had,
Yeah.
which you notice I don't have anymore. I also bought a Dark Side of the Moon Speedmaster.
Oh, sweet.
And I wore it 4 times in 3 months, and I didn't like it. And I traded both of those straight up for this.
Oh.
So this is an IWC Perpetual Calendar limited edition from 2010, which I got used from Crown and Caliber. But it's got the orange numerals, day, date, month, moon phase, 4-digit year, and power reserve.
Oh wow!
It's got like 800 parts in it, and it knows the leap years. It knows how many days are in every month. It knows all of that stuff for the next 400 years. And so when I got into complications, Crown and Caliber, who I work with, shout out to Crown and Caliber. They're my sponsor for the Watch Podcast, and so they send me watches, for the show.
Oh, sweet!
And I also get a demo every month. I get a demo. For a watch to try out. Right now, I'm wearing the Glashuta Big Date, which is lovely. But this is my demo until tomorrow when I get a Sky Dweller. I'm really excited. But they sent me this IWC as a demo, and from the second I opened the box, I was like, "This isn't going back."
Yeah.
It has the Kurt Klaus movement. It's beautifully finished. It's got the big onion crown. So what's really cool about this is that all the adjustments can be done from the one crown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is the only watch I keep on a winder because I don't want to fuck.
You don't
with
have
any
to
of that.
reset any
no,
of it.
I keep this one on a winder, and it's the only one that I do that. The rest of them I let them die and restart them. But the idea that not only is it an heirloom watch, it's that I can keep it. I have to keep it going. It's a game to keep it going the whole time. You don't let it stop. And I love the way this watch sits. I love how big and heavy it is. This watch looks really great with a short sleeve T-shirt. With the Bosporus strap, the canvas. I really took the leather off and really dressed it down.
Yeah.
It's pretty DL.
I think it's cool, and it really kind of it really tells a story about you and kind of your style and the whole low key nature, right? Like inside you have all these complications, all like the high end stuff, and then it's basically all encased
canvas
in a canvas strap inside a tool watch. IWC, they're known
it's a billionaire in sneakers. You know what I mean?
And that onion crown for them is an original design. They're not paying. If anything, they just pay homage to some of their earlier references, all the date all the way back to World War II. So I feel like IWC is definitely one of those kind of connoisseurs watches, and maybe somebody who wants pure street cred that might not go for an IWC, but somebody who kind of knows the other side of it.
This is not in the general public, no one has any idea what this is.
Exactly.
And I like that. I like that this is my most expensive watch by some margin. But it's not flashy.
Yeah.
It's not in your face. It's not super blingy or gold. It's super, super satisfying to wear on my wrist. It has an 8-day power reserve, which is really great.
Nice.
And it's a fun watch. And people who know watches go, "Oh, is that a Perpetual? Oh." I wore it to like the Hodinkee meetup, and everyone loved it there.
Nice.
But then you leave and no one has any idea what it is. You know what I mean? So I think it really straddles that line between function with all the complications, legibility, information that it gives you, and also a feeling of luxury. And it says on the side, it says 1 out of 250.
Nice.
250 pieces. There's a couple different limited editions of this watch, but there's a lot of IWC stores like in airports that I go to.
Yeah,
they don't have these.
Oh,
they got Portofinos, they got Pilots, they got your normal stuff, but they don't have these. And
I mean, it's definitely a connoisseur's watch when you consider the kind of it's kind of a reverse watch, right? Like it's the color combination with the black and the orange, super legible, super functional, but it's not some sunray dial or it's not
the anti-blink.
It is, right? And some people will spend way less money for the one that looks more expensive, but is actually much cheaper.
Yeah,
inside.
with this watch, you're paying for the engineering, you're paying for what's inside this watch, and I love looking at the display back. This bitchin' rotor. Oh, come on, spin rotor. Oh, sorry. There you go. I also like this watch is actually in spite of its complications, it's very affordable to service.
Oh wow!
The the service on this is only $750.
Oh,
it's
sweet.
not some insane, service number. Which I think is very cool, and it looks good on a variety. Actually, the strap that is on my Seiko Turtle, it's a hand me down from that.
Nice.
And actually, the Turtle strap has some suede inside of it, and I took it off because this strap is pure canvas.
Oh wow!
So it's a little stiffer, but it's also totally waterproof.
Oh.
It's not, it doesn't get.
You don't have to worry.
It doesn't get stinky.
Cool.
Yeah. And so this is definitely a keeper. Keep it going, keep it moving, and I don't have kids now, but maybe eventually or whatever. But in the meantime, when I wear this watch, I feel like I have an inside joke. I feel like I feel good, but no one else really knows why.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because that's the story, right? There's always
Right.
something behind it, and there's always kind of those little things you do for yourself, and it's not really for everybody else.
Right.
And I think that's really cool to kind of have a personal connection with that, and that's what makes it worth it. That's what makes it worth kind of spending the money and the heartache that goes with that.
Well, I'm very lucky that I was able to do a trade with Crown and Caliber. So I traded that Pepsi GMT, which they gave me a lot more money than I paid for that watch. And I took a massive bath on the Omega, on the dark side of the moon.
Oh yeah,
I
Omega just has too many special editions.
They were actually flipped. So what I paid for the Omega and what I paid for the Rolex, when Crown and Caliber bought them from me, they gave me the opposites.
Oh,
so they gave me what I paid for the Omega new for the Rolex, and they gave me what I. So it was like one, but I ended up they gave it to me. I no cash traded hands, so I was able to take two watches that I didn't really wear and trade up to something that I wear a lot. And that to me, if you can get two things you don't use and turn them into one thing you do
addition
use.
through subtraction, right? So
Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are my watches. What do you got?
So I basically.
What are you wearing? I don't recognize
this is a Monta. This is a Monta Triumph.
I haven't heard of that before.
Basically, if you've heard of Everest Bands, right? So they make like the rubber straps.
Ooh, good weight.
For Rolexes and now Tudors as well. So basically, they were known for making those.
They make the Oyster Flex strap.
Yeah. So they make those straps. Basically, they're the aftermarket version. So if you pull up like Everest,
hang on, let me look. Everest strap.
Yeah,
because that Oyster Flex strap, is the only rubber strap that I like because it has that. Oh, look at that!
It's a little bit similar.
Does it have the air? It
doesn't
spacer?
It doesn't have the breather. It's cut out underneath.
The breather is what makes the difference. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. These ones do have a cut underneath. So basically, they were really known for doing these kind of high end options for your for your steel Rolexes, and then they decided.
I like this curved leather strap with a deployant clasp.
Yeah. So you can use your original buckles. Everything's really dialed in for.
Here's a Batman. Oh, look at that. These are great. I was considering. I know a guy who blacks out, like how like Bamford does.
Oh yeah.
I know a guy
a
guy in North Carolina who will black out a Rolex for about a quarter of what Bamford charges.
Nice.
And I was thinking of having my Batman blacked out. I like this rubber strap though. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So
That's good.
Yeah, so the nice thing is basically they came out and they were like, well, let's just start making watches too. They already had all the connections on the Swiss side. Yeah, so they made this watch, and then there's actually a couple other watches I brought here, and these ones are really I feel like they're all like under, I want to say under $3,000, right?
Okay.
And their whole main thing is that I think they really represent a cool place in the market right now where smaller micro brands are actually trying to step up into kind of the more entry-level luxury style where you're paying prices that you might pay gray market for a more mainstream brand, but you're getting a lot of bang per buck, and really you're paying just for the watch, right? And you're not paying for the marketing and a brand ambassador. So that's the Brellum Dual Box.
What is a Brellum? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's one of these cool brands that kind of came out of nowhere.
Reminds me of a Chopard and Milli Milia.
Oh yeah, that's a great brand. Yeah. So basically, the guy is Swiss. He worked for all these other Swiss brands forever, and then what ended up happening is he said, "Let me actually
take it off."
Yeah, I'll unclip the little so we can get it flat here. So what he did was he was kind of like tired of working for the man, and he said, "Let me take my skill set. I'm from a family of 4 generations of watchmakers, Swiss watchmakers. Let me just try to offer." Oh, sorry about that. Let me try to offer my own thing, basically. And what he came out with was this kind of cool design, where it's the dual box name comes from the fact that it has the actual the sapphires on both sides, and then the nice thing is
it looks like an Omega coaxial movement.
This
looks like the same movement that I had in the Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, well, Omega's, a lot of their movements were actually based on a lot of the ETA stuff because, Swatch Group owns ETA, right? So
I wouldn't be, because the dial configuration and the date position is like the same as the Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, so this is basically a top grade 7750 movement, and then it also has been customized a little bit. And the nice thing is with these these smaller micro brands, they just offer so much bang per buck. It's like a $2,500 watch, and it's COSC certified, so it's gonna keep was it +4 or +6 -4 or better, and this one's like probably running at about +2, and it's a mechanical chronograph, right? And if you were to pay for this in, let's say, just a fashionable brand, like let's say a Baume & Mercer, right? A Mercier,
which I think they have the same movement in a
it's gonna have a similar movement, but they're not gonna pay the extra money to get it COSC certified because they don't have to, because they have a name brand. Yeah. So one of the nice things is they have to kind of, it's like if you think of a lot of the Asian cars, right, where they have to offer more bang per buck for you to turn your head, right? So that's why like you're seeing like the Kia Stinger comes out and like all these options are already there, or even like Lexus back in the 90s when they were like, hey, well, guess what? Where you can get this LS fully loaded for less than the base price of an E-Class, right? So I think that's something that's really cool, and that micro brands are doing now for in the watch industry. And the thing that kind of sucks for them is there's this kind of stigma to, hey, well, I wouldn't pay that much for a no-name brand. So it's just like, so do you think all new watch brands should just make mediocre kind of crappy watches? Like, should you not want them to?
It's a fine line. I think on the one hand, there's an argument of, should I pay $3,000 for something? Like, what is the second-hand value of this watch? Because if I buy, I hate to go back to Rolex, but if I buy a Rolex, that money isn't spent. It's just parked.
Exactly.
I can get it out. Whereas other watches, and I mean some of the watches I have and some of the other stuff, you buy it like a car. The second it goes at the door, it's worth half.
Oh, definitely.
So, and if you're gonna spend
if you're a flipper, then it's definitely something to take into consideration. But I think with the small batch numbers that micro brands are normally doing, it's almost doing realistically what kind of Rolex fakes doing, right? Which is kind of slowing down what's available to kind of heighten demand. Here you're gonna get the lower serial numbers, and then they move on to other designs. You can't really go back. So the nice thing is, if you do try to flip, I'd say some of the higher end, more expensive micro brand watches, even like a Weiss watch, right? They're not going to pop up on the aftermarket too often, because they're, people pretty much buy those to keep them, and it's kind of a special piece.
This is rather lovely. I mean, I think in terms of just like holding it and looking at the decoration and the movement and stuff, like, this is at least the quality of your average B&M or Chopard watch, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And the nice thing is,
it's got a good weight to it. Is the secondhand blue? It is.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's blue.
I like that the blue anodized secondhand. That's really cool.
Yeah, and really they're offering, where you got the little quick strap release and everything.
What is this band made of?
It's leather, but they actually use like this really nice liner,
a rubber backing on it.
Yeah, right? So it's one of those things where it feels really good in hand as well.
It's pretty cool. I like this watch roll that has the sliders on it.
This is actually made by Everest. So
they made the thing.
Yeah. So it's the nice thing about it that I like is that you can slide them in and out. You don't necessarily have to like take off the one on the end to get to the one in the middle. But that watch is actually,
so this is a Peloton.
Yeah,
Pelton.
That's the one I was telling you about. That's actually made by a guy in Detroit. It's him in a shop.
Did he work for AP at some point?
It definitely pays tribute to that Gerald Genta design.
This looks like a Gerald Genta watch.
Yeah, for sure. But the nice thing is,
it looks like it's got an AP Royal Oak case with a Hublot Big Bang bezel.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And it definitely, like, you can tell, like, just by looking at it, the bevels, the fine finishing. It's an expensive looking watch, and it feels expensive. They're, I think, they're about $2,500.
Not cheap, huh?
Yeah,
what kind of movement do they use?
It's a 2824, but it's a top grade and it's decorated and everything. And the thinness that you're gonna get in that case, and like actually, if you pull up their website, like they're very transparent about kind of everything about their watches, as far as where's everything manufactured and because there's actually
made watches.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of brands that have gotten in a lot of trouble for putting American made and it's just American assembled.
Oh yeah, like Shidola.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people and even really small brands that have caught some heat for that. But the thing that's really nice about Pelton is because he actually makes already another product, right, which is the microphones. He already understands the FCC regulations and the requirements for what he can put on the dial, what he can't. And basically everything that he couldn't make, he just has made in Switzerland, right? And then he buys it. So it's really a premium thing. There's tons of little pieces. I mean, the hand finishing that goes into these, and he actually it's just one guy. So the guy you see in the pictures, it's funny, like he's the one who kind of designed it and finishes it, and eventually, kind of like Cameron, he's gonna have to teach somebody, and as the company takes off. But I just think it's really cool, and like if you like turn it sideways, like the bracelet doesn't sag at all. That thing is just
it's pretty tight. I think if I had to give a point against, the edges are a little sharp.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
edges are a little sharp.
That's like was one of the first things I told him, and he actually told me that because this one is actually a loaner because I'm reviewing it. He said that that's actually one of like the earlier bracelets, and the ones that people are buying, he's actually adding a couple of micro bevels underneath. And I asked him, I was like, well, I don't have a hairy arm, but what about guys with hairy arms? I feel like it could pinch some hair, and he's like, oh no, actually we have a bunch of customers.
I have the hairiest fucking Arab arms on the planet, and honestly, people always talk about that pinch.
Yeah.
It's never happened to me, not once. I've never gotten pinched.
It could totally be an urban legend then. I don't know. My arms are very bald, and the fans out in YouTube have been evil enough to point that out from time to time.
What? That your arms are bald?
Yeah, they're like, hey, I can't trust the guy who shaves his arms, and I'm like, I don't shave my arms.
I don't want to mess that up and screw that crown back down. But
okay.
I think it feels like a high quality item.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. I really like that it's made in America. I really like that it's made by one guy. I think it looks like a first effort. But it's not to say it's bad.
No,
but
yeah,
I
no,
think
not
it looks
at all.
like a first effort, and I bet you his next watch rules.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just because the attention to detail. And then that next one there is actually from Monta again. And this is kind of their take on the classic diver, and I love it. I actually was waiting for this one.
Let's listen.
Yeah, and it's what's nice is considering that's a 60-click bezel, that thing feels really nice and precise. Normally, you get the 120 clicks, and it's something that is a little bit easier to keep the tolerances tight because it's a smaller gap. But a 60-click bezel that feels that solid and purposeful, I think is something that's really special. And
it's got a nice oyster band.
Yeah, and it actually does have a kind of a take on glide lock where you can actually do the toolless adjustment to it.
Oh, can you?
Slide it? Yeah, I mean not as much I would say as like as a glide lock like a Rolex, but
you can throw it under there.
Cool.
My GMT is pre-glide lock. I don't have that's where I did not spend money.
Take it and then boom. So it's almost you could use it like a diver's extension, or hey, it gets hot, or whatever, humid, your wrist swells up, and then you can have that. And it's just one of those watches where I really like the clean lines. And then from a purchasing perspective, it just checks all the boxes really.
It's nice.
Yeah. So I think there's just a cool kind of market. I feel like my channel is a bit of a micro brand kind of underdog.
You said that you're like pro micro brand.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, I still own like a lot of mainstream stuff, but I think this stuff is really special, and I like supporting the micro brands because it's gonna lead to better stuff, right? So I mean, if these guys survive and then make and move more for the kind of early adopters, it's kind of cool, right? To be like if you were one of the guys who had like a Richard Mille, like modded Rolex before he started making his own watches, right? So it's one of those things where like if the brand succeed, and then for me as somebody who's not as much into paying for the lineage and the cachet, if I can get something that feels good on the wrist that aesthetically is pleasing to me, and then the quality is there, and it's going to offer the same types of specs on paper, with very little compromise as far as like the fit and finish go. I mean, it's something that I kind of really appreciate, and as far as my journey in watch collecting, I feel like that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm just like really focused on the bang per buck. There was a time when I was really into Seiko mods. That was actually some of my higher viewed videos were like Seiko mods that I
Seikos,
had
yeah.
done.
We do need to do an episode of our show on that.
Yeah, it's this whole kind of subculture.
Totally.
But it's really cool, and I feel like that's one of the funny things about Seiko is that they kind of purposely produce watches that are not meant to be the one watch.
Yeah.
You know, they want to give you 7 different watches for 7 different days of the week, different occasions, versus like that's kind of the opposite of Rolex, right? They want every watch they
could be an
make,
everyday watch.
Yeah, could be an everyday single watch, the watch you save up for, and then if you're balling, then maybe you'll have more than one.
Yeah. For me, like I'm not worried about specs so much. I mean, it's not, and I don't really worry about value. I really, if I, it's like with cars, you know, I don't go, okay, I need a hatchback that'll do this and do this and this and that gets 25 miles to the gallon and that does this, like the way that people ask me for car advice. They, you know, so Matt, I'm looking for a new family car.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fine. Like I'm happy to help them with some whatever objective reality I can discover from their questions. But like with me and buying watches, it's much more of I see it, I put it on, I like how it feels. I have to have it. And it doesn't matter if it's $10,000 or $400. It jumps out at me, and either I have to have it or I find a way to save for it and get it, you know, eventually, or trade for it or whatever it is. You know, I buy the shit that I feel I make a connection with.
Yeah.
And typically that is not dependent on the specs or the fact that this is a better value than that. But I think that a lot of people don't think like me. I don't want everyone to think like me, and I'm also on the wealthier side and a little spoiled and whatnot, and I don't expect everyone to be like that either. A lot of people are looking for value, and I think all 3 of these watches, I think if what did you say, $2,500 or so for these?
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, if I were to counterpoint, I would say that there are a lot of watches out there that you can buy secondhand.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and
like,
that's a whole nother kind of argument.
Like for me, someone said, Matt, I want to spend $2,000 on a watch, I would say used Seamaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Used Bell and Ross. Fucking Bell and Rosses are great, and they drop like rocks the second they go out the door. You know, $2,000 gets you an awesome Bell and Ross. And I'm a big Bell and Ross fan. I'm waiting. They just came out with the I'll get a picture of it.
They got that. A brass.
They have a brass Bell and Ross. Oh, that hasn't worked. Hang on. Oh, this. Look at this thing.
Oh wow, yeah. So they're square diver. They made a brass version.
Rad. Wait, this is a brass case BR03, I think. And it is so cool, and I want one. But wait, is that the right one? Is it? That's not the same as this. Is it? This is it. 100%. This is it.
Okay.
That's it, and it's $4,000 used or new. $4,000 new.
Nice.
But I'm just waiting for Crown and Caliber to get a used one. It'll be 2, and that's rad. I think so. Used Bell and Rosses for sure are dope.
For sure. Yeah, I'm not huge into secondhand. I don't flip watches either. Yeah, I don't know. I think my kids kind of forced me to hold on to a lot of the watches I have because they're all like, oh, I want that one.
That's cool.
And I'm like, you don't have enough wrists for all the random watches you're not letting me sell.
How many watches do you have?
It started out, it's funny, I used to really be into my car and modding it, and then it went to the shop for a very long time when I got it supercharged. And then during that time, instead of like buying parts, I just kind of got back into watches again. And it was like right after I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps, I was going back to school, and it was just this weird thing where I kind of like explored all these different types of watches and different nuances and try to kind of appreciate, you know, and it's one of those things where like if you start out at like, here, why don't I just spend $8,000 and get a sub, you know, you don't really appreciate it as much as if you were to spend, you know, $1,000 watch here, $500 watch there, then you kind of can see like, okay, well, this is why this is better. It's the same way, you know, if your first car is a Lexus, you know, you're really not going to be able to appreciate the quiet cabin that you'll find.
I admit that I got a little bit spoiled because my dad bought me that Submariner, and that wearing a Submariner every day for 10 years, it's not that I didn't appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Like, that's an amazing gift for a father to give a son, and I took as good care of it as can be reasonably expected, and I'll hang on to it until the day I die. But the functionality, the all the time functionality of a Submariner really ruined some other watches for me.
Oh yeah, it's
when
so
I went and bought a
symmetrical.
Speedmaster, and as I'm going out, and he goes, "Don't wear it in the water." I go, I'm sorry, what? What did you just say? Don't wear it in the water.
Watch. You can wear this in space, but not in the water.
Yeah, like what kind of bullshit is that? Like I can wear the Submariner in the water. I can't wear the Speedmaster. Like what? So I got a little spoiled by the versatility of a Submariner.
Yeah.
But I totally understand your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of went on.
And most people work their way up. Most people don't start with something.
Oh yeah, and honestly, the people who normally have the money to get to buy a bigger name up front, they're not going to do too much research, and that's why tags.
You want what you want.
Yeah, they're more common because they sell. Because people who are into that or they're not necessarily playing the numbers game.
I did buy a watch like last week. It's not in yet. It's from Hodinkee.
Oh sweet.
And
ooh,
I got the Orange Boy, which is
Nice.
the new limited
re-release,
edition. Right? Yeah, where the fuck is it? Wait, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Wait, where is it? Oh, here it is. This is it, and it's rad. So I went to a Hodinkee meetup, and they had the prototype there. And
that bracelet is sick.
The
Is that like a beads of rice style?
Yeah, and I've always wanted to like Hoyer, and I've never been. I understand the motorsport connection and the history and all that, but I've just never found the one that jumped out at me. And I put that on, and I went, "Oh fuck yeah!" And I just handed them my credit card, and I'll figure out how to pay for it later. It doesn't come in for like a month and a half. Yeah. I'll figure out how to make enough money to pay for it. But yeah, that one's gonna be coming soon. That means someone's got. The box is the limit. This is the garage.
That's smart.
The box is the limit. Normally the G-Shocks are not in the box. But I'm really excited for this Hoyer Octavia, and it's extremely comfortable beads of rice bracelet.
Oh man, yeah, that thing's gorgeous. It definitely, and the nice thing is, really tags history and what everybody loves about it is back in the Hoyer days.
Yeah.
Before they kind of joined with tag
and we did on Watch and Listen. We did an episode that was history of Tag Heuer, and so Crown and Caliber sent us a dozen watches to show, and they have such a connection to motorsport that I really wanted to like the watches, and from a horological standpoint, they've had a lot of innovations. Their movements are good. But just nothing spoke to me until I saw this and went, that's the one,
Yeah, it definitely has that awesome kind of 70s vintage style without needing to really be like overly patinaed or try to look old. It's a modern looking watch that definitely has a design language that speaks to an older time.
Yeah, I wonder how it's gonna look when it's like all scratched up and shit. Because I'm gonna scratch it up. Like it's just gonna happen. I'm gonna wear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm gonna wear it. It's gonna.
You could put it on a nice rally strap.
I could, but I'm not gonna. You know what? I actually need more steel bands because I get that wrist sweat. I get wrist sweat,
I agree.
And I also I love cooking. I cook a lot. When you cook, you wash your hands like 300 times.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, part of the reason I got the canvas strap on the IWC wasn't so I could wear it in the shower. It was so I didn't freak out about the band when I was washing my hands cooking.
Yeah.
So there is certainly some virtue in the steel band if you're a chef.
Yeah, I love steel bracelets. I kind of prefer them. Every once in a while I'll throw stuff on NATOs, or different rubber straps or leather straps. But I kind of find myself
never
always
get a
going
NATO
back.
to sit right on my hand.
Well, I wish I would have known that because there's a brand they're called Haviston, and they kind of re-engineered the NATO strap, and I gotta say, that's funny. That's one of my reviews.
Oh, here
is right there. Yeah. So this is actually one of their first models that they released, and one of the things that they did is they shortened the strap so that the buckle would actually sit naturally centered because most NATOs are going to sit off to the side, right?
And you get that bulk.
It's awkward. So then you have like bulk here.
Yeah.
You have the watch there. Then you have all this that's thin and smooth.
So they shortened the short end.
So they shortened the short end so you don't have to fold it over. They have a sliding keeper so that you can actually just place it where it needs to go, then it'll hold the extra
There
tongue
you
out
go.
without having to fold back down.
That works.
And they've been really cool. And kind of every release they've done for me is just they've taken it to another level.
Oh, good for them. I'll check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
So
I'm glad someone has finally improved the NATO strap.
yeah, and it's one of those things that it's been around forever, and you know, there's a million takes on it, and people kind of just do the same thing. You know,
Yeah,
they
I
just
actually had a very thin leather NATO. It was really thin. It
Yeah.
was like, it was so soft, like kangaroo leather. So
Oh,
thin.
wow.
And that was the only one that ever fit properly. It had like no extra bulk to it. It was good. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's rare I find a NATO that works properly for
yeah,
me.
for me, I need a longer. I have a 7 1/4 inch wrist.
I'm 8.
Oh wow.
8-inch wrist. Yeah, look, I'm on the last every watch. I'm on the last little bit.
Oh yeah. And for me, even at 7 1/4, I have to have like a NATO that's normally over 12 inches long because I need to have enough tongue to flip. That's the most like annoying thing to me. I don't have enough, to flip it back down, because if I have just enough for it to stick out, then it's like this whole, it just defeats the whole purpose, right? If you have to do that much work to try to tuck it back down. So that's what I really liked about here. And you know, there's other straps where you purposely can get them in kind of the extra long size and it works out. But yeah, for them, I think what they did is they really went to it, you know, with thinking about how this can go on the wrist versus like, oh, well, we'll use, you know, this super expensive nylon and we'll use an expensive buckle and this and that. And that's what makes it premium. For here, it's more the engineering and kind of they went above and beyond, I think, in the idea from the conception, and that it was actually made built with a sense of purpose to it versus just built off of specs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like we touched on earlier is, you know, some things can be built off specs, right? Then you have the other side, which is it's built with a sense of purpose. And because of that purpose, it ends up having the specs that you like.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just a really interesting thing, and it's funny, you know, when I used to go to car shows all the time, and I used to track my car and take it to shows, and one of the things that I always thought was interesting is that like car guys are really into watches too, you know, and not just expensive watches. Sometimes it's like a fashion watch or something that's titanium or something that just is interesting to them. You know, it has a carbon fiber dial. Oh man, everybody loves carbon fiber.
If you're into engines and stuff like that, you know, engineering is engineering.
Yeah.
You know, and you're probably going to be into planes and helicopters and boats and whatever, at least casually.
Like it's an appreciation for it, right? It's not as much, I mean, of course it's a trophy in a way, but I think it's really, you know, even with your collection, right? It's an appreciation for what's on your wrist versus like being an appreciation for yourself and saying, well, I deserve this. It's nice.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
No.
You know,
no,
which
for me,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, for me, it's not about it. I mean, yes, I said I like a trophy, but it's not about flashing the cash. It is definitely about wearing something that gives you a sense of pride for one reason or another.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I feel like this has just been awesome. I was just honored to be able to sit here across the table from you that I've seen online.
My pleasure. Yeah,
so many times.
Real table, real room.
Yeah. It's funny when I recognize some of the canyons. I'm like, it's fun, and then you know, to be in here, it's definitely awesome, and I appreciate you taking the time. And,
no problem.
And sharing your story and you know your collection. It's been really an eye opener. So.
No problem, man. Happy to do it. I hope you found this a good show. And thanks for bringing the micro brands. They're neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, they don't spend a lot of money advertising. Really,
I never heard of any of them.
Yeah, their advertising is that somebody who likes watches, you know, will recommend them and say, "Wow, have you checked this out? If you're thinking about buying one of these, check this other thing out." And the thing that I think is really special about these is generally they're pretty original, right? I mean, apart from the Pelton, which definitely has a Gerald Gentra style to it, it's not by any means, you know, a copy or like a one for one.
And I mean, you don't see a lot of integrated bracelets for anything resembling a reasonable price. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I appreciate it. Good show, man.
Hey, thanks.
Yep. See you later.
Well,
shall we call the game? I can just press this button and the show's over. Ready?
All right. Well, wait, I have to
do a thing.
Yeah.
By all means.
If you like the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
And thanks, man.